Hello. In this video, we'll once again be speaking about variables and identifiers, but this time we'll talk about the naming aspect, and then we'll show a few examples of how to name them. So as a quick refresher, variables and identifiers are names of items that are used to store data. As we previously mentioned, these named items can be changed and are not permanently set. So just once more, a few simple examples here. We see x is equal to 3. X is a basic variable that we can use, while num cars equals 12. Num cars is a very basic identifier we can use once again. So as we continue to look at identifiers, we will see many words that are unable to be used in naming objects. These words here are referred to as reserved words or keywords in Python. Here we see the reserved words in this image here. If a programmer attempts to use one of these words in their identifier, they will be warned by the IDE. If the warning is ignored and the code is ran, the programmer will then receive a syntax error. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few examples of naming variables and identifiers, and then what happens if we use one of these reserved words. All right, so this first example here, we see that we have an assignment statement where we assign x with the value of 4, and then we'll print out that variable of x, so we should get the output of 4 here. However, we'll see that we have another assignment statement here where we assign x with -5. We then have another output statement where we will output that value where it will then change to -5. So this kind of highlights the aspect that these variables are mutable. They are not permanent and they can be changed later in the code. So once we hit run, we do see that we have our first assignment and then we have our second there with -5. So let's take a look at another example here. So in this example here, we have another assignment statement with a variable. We have 2 being assigned with A, and then an output instruction where it'll then output this value. But then as you see, this is another example of the mutable aspect of it. We can change that value of A, but we can also use that value of A in the assignment statement. So we use that as an arithmetic expression. We take the A value that we assigned up here, we use it in this arithmetic expression, so it will be 2 plus 5, and that is assigned to the value of A, and then it will change that value of A and output it here once again. So let's go ahead and run this, and we should be able to see this in our output as we do here. So this is our 2 that's assigned to A, output that here, and then we use this, we bring this value down and we use that in our arithmetic expression once more. So we have the A that we took up top plus 5 is equal to 7, our output there. All right, so let's move on to a naming identifiers program. So as we see here, we have the two different styles of naming identifiers. We have the underscore as a space, or we have no underscore, and then we have the lowercase first word and uppercase first letter of each remaining word. So as we see here, we have our top speed with an underscore assigned to 95, and our top speed with no underscore assigned with 85. So once we print this, we'll see that they are two different identifier names, and they will show different outputs once we go ahead and run this. So as you see, that's exactly what happens here. We have two different, we have an 85 and a 95, and those are both associated with their own identifiers. All right, so let's take a look at one more example. This time, we'll be using a reserved word or keyword as an identifier. So as you see here, it is already warning us. It is saying this is not able to be used, and the color is different, meaning that it does not match a normal identifier. So like I said, these words cannot be used solely as your identifier. So if we went ahead and just ignored all of these warnings and went ahead and hit ran, we would receive a syntax error. As you see here, it is invalid syntax. It's telling us it was first noticed in this line right here, and it can tell us that this right here, this identifier we used is invalid. So if we adjusted this a little bit and we changed it to annual raise, we can then see that this keyword does work. And as you see, we fixed our errors. It's no longer orange. It's no longer have the red squiggles underneath telling us incorrect. So now that we've adjusted that a little bit, let's go ahead and run this again and see if it works this time. So as you see, it did work. It was able to assign 0.04 with our annual raise, our salary with 50,000. It was able to take the salary and the annual raise and multiply those together for a salary increase. And then we can output that salary increase, and then we'll say that 2,000 will be added on to your salary annually. So it will say It will no longer have that error because this is no longer a reserved word and it is okay to be used as our identifier. So now that we have identified name and shown examples of naming these identifiers, we can later take a look at improving our identifiers and making them a little bit more meaningful as we progress in our programming career.